demonstration to show you how to boost your sales productivity with CRM with a solution that we designed and developed specifically for lubricant marketers and powered by Microsoft Dynamics CRM. I'm Chad Collette. I'm the marketing director here at Ledgeview Partners, and I have to tell you, doing our Ledgeview product webinars are some of my favorites. It's simply amazing to see how our CRM team here at Ledgeview has transformed and customized CRM to allow lubricant marketers to really out of the box connect deeper with their customers, gain efficiencies, and grow their revenue and increase their gross profit. And in today's webinar, it's extra special. You get to see the brand new features that we just rolled out this month with our latest spring enhancement release. Now, before I introduce our speaker for today, I want to address a couple standard webinar questions. First of all, this webinar is being recorded and will be made available to everyone this afternoon via email. So please feel free to share this with others in your organization and your network. In addition, since we don't know who is trying to multitask or simply listening to us while driving with the car window open, we have all attendees on listen-only mode to provide the best experience for everyone. But please don't let that stop you from asking questions. Feel free to submit any questions you have during the live demo in the question area of the GoToWebinar control panel. We will monitor those and address any that we can during the webinar, and if we don't have enough time, we'll follow up after the webinar. We do have a lot to cover today. I know Steve Raybrock, our presenter, is anxious to get underway, but I want to take just a minute to introduce Ledgeview Partners. You can see on the screen all the little fun facts about Ledgeview, who we are and what we are all about. But at our core, we provide CRM solutions for Microsoft Dynamics CRM and Salesforce. But it's much more than that. I mean, don't get us wrong, CRM can be amazing. We believe every business should take advantage of it. But without the right expertise behind it, it's just software. The key is the R in CRM. Customer relationship management is really about figuring out how to build those great relationships with your customers. I mean, that's what really matters. Relationships lead to loyalty, and loyalty leads to growth and sustainability for your business. And that's where most implementations go off the rails. See, what we're really into is helping you harness the amazing power of relationships to reshape your business inside and out. We don't just install a software system. We're serious business advisors. We dig into the way you do things in order to really understand how your company and your industry works. And we take great joy in your success because it means we've fulfilled our purpose in helping you grow and prosper. And that's reflected in our 98% customer retention rate, one that we are very proud of here at Ledgeview Partners. Now let me introduce our speaker for today. Steve Raybrock is a CRM product consultant with Ledgeview Partners. Steve is the guy here that personally oversees all of our CRM for oil and gas implementations and gets to know each and every marketer very, very well. From coast to coast, he ensures that what our customers purchase is what we deliver. Steve, thanks for joining us today. Take it away.
All right. Thanks, Chad. We have a lot to cover, and I get about 55 minutes or maybe about 50, so I can turn it back to Chad to kind of wrap things up. So, yep, so this is me. I do spend a lot of time traveling. I get to meet a lot of marketers out there and get them going on CRM. So today, here's what we're gonna talk about. Just a little bit about basic CRM, you know, what it is and what it can do for your company. We're gonna talk a little bit about the difference between buying vanilla CRM and buying an industry-ready product. And then I'm gonna jump right into CRM, and I'm just gonna show you just a little bit of the basics, some of the stuff you'd get with any CRM, sales, marketing, service, some of the basic functionality. But I'm going to spend most of my time talking about some specific things that we've done to CRM to make our oil and gas CRM product, you know, very unique. So with that being said, you know, so what is CRM? What can it do for your company? Obviously, it's software to keep track of your customers. Some of the buzzwords that I hear very often when I'm rolling this out to customers are words like transparency, meaning, you know, if we can, you know, have information about a customer or what a salesperson is doing or what customer service is doing with a customer available to everyone in the organization, I mean, that's just going to make us much more efficient and much more knowledgeable about our customers. Another buzzword I hear quite often is consistency. We're going to use processes and techniques that, you know, if we use them throughout the organization the same way, again, we're going to lead to efficiency. So that's a lot of what CRM is going to bring to the table. Keeping track of your current customers, your prospects, your pipeline. Obviously, it does some service and some marketing as well. So lots of neat stuff. Moving into the difference between vanilla and an industry-ready product. This is probably the biggest strategic decision you'll make after you've decided, hey, our organization needs CRM. So once you've decided you need CRM, now, okay, well, what do we get? So you can go buy Microsoft Dynamics CRM or Salesforce, or I'm sure there are many more different versions of CRM out there, and you'll get what we call the vanilla or out-of-the-box solution. And then you either just live with that, or you work with a consulting firm and you customize it. You configure it, you customize it, you make changes to have it work the way you want it to work. Obviously, if you go through that process, you are heavily involved in the design. There's a lot of time involved. There's a lot of expense involved. But the great news is when you're all done, you get exactly what you want. The alternative, which is where our oil and gas product fits, is an industry-ready product. So it's done already. The design has been done. It was created to work for the petroleum industry. So you don't really have to spend a lot of time in design. So therefore, you're going to save time, you're going to save money, and you'll be able to get CRM up and running for your organization much quicker. If there is a negative, it's a small one, but you might not get exactly what you want. You might only get 98 or 99% of what you want because it's a finished product. It is what it is. Obviously, as Chad mentioned, I'm going to show some things today about our June release. So even though it's an industry-ready finished product, that doesn't mean it stays stagnant. We keep it growing and evolving with feedback from our customers. So that's the big difference between vanilla and industry-ready. Again, the folks I deal with have picked our oil and gas product, so they've made that strategic decision to go with an industry-ready product. All right, so before I jump into CRM, I'm just going to tab over to just one more screen here just to kind of show you when I get into our CRM, what I'm going to focus on, these 8 areas. And probably the biggest one is this data visualization, which we have a standard data interface we've been able to tie into every single accounting system that we've been asked to tie into. So what our goal is to get your accounting data into CRM to be able to bring that to life and also make that part of CRM so there's not any dual entry. So things like bringing over your customers, bringing over your products, bringing over your invoice data so I can easily analyze an account, an area, just to see how things are going. So we'll spend some time on data visualization, and then we'll jump into sales team transparency, how everybody should have access to information to be able to easily analyze what's going on. I'll just show a quick quote that you can use in our system. A lot of our clients actually take advantage of that. Again, there's consistency there. If we all generate quotes the same way, the look and feel is the same. So that's another thing I'll show you. And then there's a few other modules that we've added that are kind of outside the normal mode of CRM. So we have a lot of customers who have tanks or equipment out in the field that they have a hard time keeping track of. So we created a module called equipment tracking where you can keep track of all your tanks or literally any equipment that you have out in the field, where it is, who has it, when they got it, those types of things. We also have a module called station management, which is a way to keep track of a gas station or maybe a card lock location. So I'll show you that. A lot of our customers not only do lubricants, but they do fuel, and as most of you who are involved with fuel know, the prices change just about every day. So we came up with a very simple way to push out prices to your customers. So just a simple way to get your name and your prices of your fuel in front of your customers. And then we'll wrap up with a little mapping function we have called territory management to hopefully make folks a little bit more productive. And then finally, I'll pull up our iPad app, which has been very popular. Hopefully we'll have a few minutes right at the end, and I'll pull that up. I'll get my iPad to display on the screen here, and I'll show you some of the things you can do out in the field using our iPad app. It's been very, very popular. It does about 95% of what a salesperson needs to do out in the field. One of the complaints that we've heard many times is, okay, CRM is great, but now, I've got all this work to do from 6 to 7 o'clock at night. I got to get back in front of my computer and do all this stuff in CRM. Well, with the iPad app, as soon as you leave a customer visit, you're out in your truck or your car, you can just, open up your iPad, type in what just happened, save it, and you're done. And the beauty of our iPad is it works pretty much anywhere, and it's really fast because the concept is we have you working offline, so you do not even need internet connectivity. You really only need that connection once a day when you do a synchronization, which will take all the hard work you did on your iPad and push it up to CRM. So there it is. All right, so let's jump out of this for a second, and I'm just going to pull up CRM. All right, so here's CRM, and just some of the basics that I kind of showed you'd get in our CRM. You get things like sales area where you can keep track of your accounts, which are your customers. You can keep track of your leads, your pipeline, which would be your opportunities. All that comes with just about every CRM. There's also a service module. I only have a couple clients, I think only one actually using the service feature. But that's a way where you can keep track of service work you're doing for somebody. We as a consulting firm use that. If a customer calls us up and we have to open up a case, we keep track of that in the service module. And then the last big module is marketing. So having marketing lists, running marketing campaigns, all right out of the box, vanilla functionality with CRM. So some of the things that we bring to the table beyond that are this thing we call the data visualization or interfacing with your back office. So every night we have a process that runs that will take your customers, take your invoice data, take your product information, and send that to CRM. So your CRM, a lot of that information is replicated right from your accounting system. However, there's also a lot of information in CRM that isn't in your accounting system, like all your prospects, all your leads, all the activities, all the notes, all that information you've been entering about a customer that is, critical information, that you should have about each of your customers. So I'll just jump into some of the ways where we tap into this concept of data visualization and tapping into your back office system. So I'll just pull up an account here. I'm just going to search for a customer. And I'll just show you some of the things that we've done. So this particular customer is an active customer that would be in your accounting system. And one of the reasons I know that is it actually has a customer number. So this is coming from my back office, and all these fields with a little lock on them are meaning you can't really change these fields here because it's driven by your accounting system. So if the company name changes in your accounting system, then the next day that name will be reflected here in CRM. So there's some basic information in here. We also optionally can bring over a lot of accounts receivable information, so you can see, if the guy has anything aged out, when his last statement was, how much it was, some of his payment information is here. We also take a look at the customer's buying patterns and what he's been buying based on the last 12 months. We can easily show you the products that they're buying the most of down to the products they're buying the least of. So this is just a really quick snapshot of what this particular customer happens to be buying at a summary level. Again, this is looking at 12 months. So one of the things that somebody pointed out to me once was, hey, this is really interesting, Steve, but what's more interesting is what's not on this list. So it was just a good way to maybe trigger a dialogue with a customer. Hey, if you're buying this and this, why aren't you buying that? So that's one way we kind of, show you your information. And another way is if you want to get right down into the details of it, you can get right down to the transaction. So you can look at what we call the order history transactions for this account. So what this is showing me is the last time this customer bought anything happened to be on February 9th, and here's either the invoice or the order that it was on, and here's the product that they bought, how much they paid, what the cost was, how many they bought, and the revenue and gross profit it produced. So this is down to, like, think of this as like a line item on an invoice. Now, exposed to you in CRM to have this information right at your fingertips. One of the things that I hear quite often, it's not universal, but quite often is a salesperson might have limited or no access to this data. They have to call somebody in the office to get it. So to put this at their fingertips, they can really be productive because they now have this information. Hopefully they can make better decisions and know exactly what a customer's buying or maybe has stopped buying, because all that information is right at his fingertips. All right, some people are a little bit more graphical than just looking at the raw data. So what we also do is we take that information and we show it to you graphically in what we call our order history dashboard. So again, I'm just analyzing this one customer. And what this is doing now is it's looking back at all of that order history, and it's going to summarize it for the year, and it's going to compare so far this year to date versus prior year to date. So this is reflecting gross profit, and it's showing me so far this year to date, how's the customer doing, and then the same time period last year. And I can also look at revenue units, and we also have this concept of share of wallet. We could analyze that as well. So this is year-to-date information, and over here on the right, this is just looking at the most recent 12 months versus the prior 12 months. So depending on where you're at, you might want to analyze either one of these. And then we break down this information by what we call product segments, so your main product line. So in this case, this customer has been buying antifreeze, grease, heavy duty, and industrial oil. And again, this is just showing year-to-date comparisons. Again, looking at gross profit. So just some ways we can kind of pull this information to life for you to kind of help when you're maybe going to go visit or you're going to call on Fairview Manufacturing, just to give you that ammunition you need to talk to them. All right, one of the things that Chad mentioned, one of our new features just a few weeks ago, is this concept of suggestive sell. And the concept here is, with talking to a lot of our customers, there's a correlation between product segments. And the concept is, let's say a customer, if they're buying antifreeze from me, look at all my other product lines and figure out which of those product lines maybe they should also be buying. So what we do is we give you the ability to configure out what I'll call a matrix, which kind of correlates product segments against each other, and then the system can do this analysis for you. So what I can do is I can hit this button, and what it'll do is it'll go out and look at what this customer has been buying. It'll look at what they're not buying, and then it'll look at that matrix that you set up and then populate this screen. So based on what this customer is buying and based on that matrix that you've set up, we're going to suggest, the system is going to suggest that you talk to this customer about furnaces and about additives. And again, it did that based on analyzing what the customer was and was not buying. You can also have a little description come up here to help the salesperson figure out maybe what they should push in the furnace line. We just threw some in here. And then also, if you did happen to talk to the customer about one of these, maybe the last time you called, you can put a date in here and a little note just to kind of remind you. So we kind of use the concept of like a snooze button. So I've talked to this customer about additives, and they said, look, they don't really even purchase additives. So I just snoozed this out for quite a long time. So now when I pull this up, I know really not to talk to them about additives, at least for a while. I might find out later that they're now starting to buy them because they're starting to sell them. So maybe it would become an opportunity at that point. So suggestive sell has been real popular, and we just kicked it off just a few weeks ago. It was, June 8th was when we rolled this out. Okay, I guess kind of moving things to a higher level when we think of transparency and data visualization. We have some dashboards that are at more of a corporate level. So one of the things that we have is what we call a corporate scorecard. And again, this is because we have access to your information, and we also in our system give you the ability to set goals. So, the whole concept, what gets measured gets done. So here's our corporate scorecard. And what this is doing really is looking at, from a company perspective, how am I doing from a gross profit perspective and from a volume perspective. And the bar is showing me the actual, and these 4 diamonds represent my quarterly goals. So if my fiscal year is calendar year, I'm about halfway into the year, right? It's June 15th. I should be getting pretty close to this second diamond, to be on track with my goals. So I'm a little bit behind, but I have a few weeks left before the end of June to hopefully get up to this diamond. Now, again, this actual comes right from your accounting system, and these diamonds you set within CRM. You create goals on a spreadsheet, and then there's a wizard process you go through to load them goals. So I'm going to just kind of drill into this a little bit and show you that the next breakdown then is by what we call department. And this would be configured to match what your departments are. So the system is very configurable. That's one of the things I do when we kick off the project. We go through all about your company and how you keep track of things, and we make sure CRM matches that. So in this particular case, this company had 5 departments, and it looks like they set goals for 4 of them. So in this particular case, looks like lubricants is pretty much ahead of schedule for the year so far. So it's doing pretty good. I could click on lubricants then, and then it breaks it down by that product segment. And here again, actual versus goal. I did get a little bit lazy and set these goals. They're exactly the same, and that's not very common, right? My goals would probably be different for each of these product segments. And then I can drill into this even further. Let's say go into industrial, and then it's going to show me which salespeople are bringing in that gross profit. So again, I'm looking at lubricants, industrial business, and these are the sales folks and their goals, and who's bringing in that gross profit. And then the last drill in for this isn't so much a chart as just a list of, in this case I clicked on Steve, so this is going to list all of Steve's accounts and show which of those are contributing to the industrial gross profit. So a lot of them aren't contributing any, but I can click on the heading here and it'll go ascending. I can click on it again and it'll go descending, and this is going to show me my biggest accounts that are bringing in gross profit for my industrial business. And just another way to populate the data and help you kind of analyze how things are happening. Okay, another thing that was new in our actually I'll do this 2 ways. I'm going to start with reports. Seem to be very popular. So we've got a lot of reports in the system, and you can run these a lot of different ways. We like to analyze accounts, salesmen, your opportunities, so your pipeline, you can analyze that, some share of wallet information. We have lots and lots of different reports, and I'll just give you an example of one here and show you some of the flexibility. So here's a ranking report that I can run. So basically what I'm saying is I want a list of customers, and I want to show my best customer down to my worst customer. So I'm just going to bypass this filter screen. I'll come back to that in a second. And I'm just going to run this report and say, run this report, and I'm going to rank my customers based on volume. So what this is going to do is go, pardon me, this is going to analyze all that order history data, look at my customers, add up all their revenue, all their volume, and then it's going to show me a list of customers, showing me the customer with the most volume down to the customer with the least volume. And then I just have a running volume, which is really just accumulating for each customer as it's going. And then the percentage each customer contributed, and then a running percentage. A lot of times I'll get a customer who says, look, I want to look at my top 75% of my accounts. Well, just stop reading when you get to 75%, but I'm actually going to show you everybody. So this actually is interesting. This is showing me that one customer is bringing in almost 75% of my volume, and then I'm realizing, oh yeah, if I include my fuel business, that really distorts this. So that's what this filter screen that I skipped originally. This lets me exclude or really include, depending on how you look at it, only the data that I want the report to use. So the default is really, include everything and look at everything so far this year. Look at my fiscal year. And I could change this to look at any time period I wanted to, but I kind of like that. The only thing I want to do is I don't want to include my fuel. So I can just filter on the department, and I can just say where it does not equal, and I can go in here and I can say I don't want to include my fuel department. So now I've just added a little rule to the data before it's actually going to generate the report. Which data do I care about? Now I go to run report. I want to run it for volume again, and I'm probably going to get a pretty significantly different looking report. So sure enough, now that one account doesn't even look like it's on here anymore. And I've gotten rid of my fuel business, which is a ton of volume. So now I've gotten customers. My biggest customer is got about 15,000 gallons, and then it goes down from there. And these are the percentages that they're contributing. So this is just one of many reports. The other thing that we did in the June release is to make it even easier, and for some of our longer running reports, you can just imagine some of the options you can have in here, that there's just so much data, it could chug and chug for quite a while. We created a dashboard to let you submit a report. So the concept, I'm just going to jump into it. Probably not going to run one here, but the concept is you're going to request a report. So we've got 5 in here right now, and I can see now, based on how popular this is, people are asking this list to grow. But if I were to run this salesperson growth report, I can put in a range of dates to compare, let's say, last year to this year. And then all of these other fields are different values in the data that you can filter on. Maybe you only want to pick a few salesmen. Maybe you only want to analyze a few industries. As I scroll down, maybe I only want to analyze a few departments or a few product segments. So again, I'm filtering on the data I want, and then I hit this run report. And what it does is it goes off and submits it to a queue, and I can continue to use CRM. I don't have to wait. And when it's all done, that report gets emailed to me. So I already have the report in an email, so if I wanted to forward it to somebody, it's all ready to go. The attachment, the report, is in Excel, so I can massage the data if I want, and maybe make some charts out of it or do whatever I want with it. So our customers are absolutely just loving this. They're saying, we want more of 97. So I'm sure there's going to be more of that in our future. Okay, Chad, I'm about to move on to more of the sales team transparency, but before I do that, were there any questions that I should address before I move on?
Nope, go ahead and move on, Steve.
All right. So from a sales team transparency, you're probably starting to see it already, where access to information. If everybody has access to this information, right, we can just be a much more productive organization. Well, getting back to this corporate scorecard that I showed you earlier, there's another way to look at that data, and we call it the sales manager dashboard or scorecard, and it's looking at the same data, except we're spinning it starting at the salesperson level. So what this is doing is looking at all of that data with all them goals, and it's showing me how my sales team is doing for gross profit and for units. And again, I can continue to drill into this like I did before, by department, by product segment, and whatnot. And the other thing that we have for like an individual salesperson is they would go into dashboard 8. And this would be what we call my goal scorecard. So each salesman is looking at how they're doing. So the manager would have access to everybody. Each salesperson has access to their own. So, this is exactly what I see. This is exactly what my sales manager sees. When we're meeting, when we're talking about how things are going, I mean, we're all looking at the same thing. There's just no confusion about what's what. And if I'm going to have a meeting with a particular salesperson and I'm the manager, one of the options I have on this dashboard 7 is I can just pick a particular salesperson. So if somebody's in my office, I can just pull up basically what their dashboard looks like, and it would match exactly to as if they were looking at it. This would just be now me accessing it as a sales manager. So just some great tools to, again, keep the system transparent. Everybody has access to this information. Another thing that's really, really important that your sales team is hopefully focusing on is pipeline management, their opportunities. So again, I'm a salesman. I'm going to be in CRM. I'm going to be in this sales module. I'm going to be in opportunities. And this is a list of all of my opportunities. This is my personal pipeline. This is all the business I'm going after. So if I'm using CRM and keeping it updated, hopefully I don't have to answer as many questions from my boss. I can be out selling because he has access to CRM and he has access to my pipeline. So hopefully if questions come up, he can ask me very direct, specific questions, or when we do meet, it should be very productive meeting because we're just all looking at, again, the same thing. So this is how I could look at my pipeline, and a manager might do it this way. They might go into this workplace again and use a dashboard, maybe analyze the gross profit dashboards. So what this is doing is this is looking at all of the open opportunities that are in CRM right now, and it's showing me as a manager how much money, potential money, gross profit, is in the pipeline by department, by salesperson, and then by sales stage. This is what most people think of like the pipeline. So what is further on down the sales process hopefully has a better chance of winning those opportunities. So one of the things that you can do with many of our dashboards is I use the term you can interact with the data. So these charts are great and they really tell a big story, but what if I have questions? Right? One of the things I can do is I can click this little button here, and what it will do is it will show me the chart over on the right, and it'll show me the data on the left. So these are all the opportunities that are in CRM that make up this chart. So if I was wondering what Steve was doing, if I click on this over here, what it'll do is it'll change the list over on the left to just be Steve's opportunities. And then if I really want to get creative, I can actually make a chart of Steve's opportunities here by going here and saying, look, I just want to chart that by sales stage. So I just want to see how Steve's pipeline is. So just one or two clicks, and boom, I get a pretty good sense of, how much gross profit Steve has in open opportunities by sales stage. And if I really wanted to get carried away, I mean, there's nothing to stop me from just double clicking on any one of these and opening up this opportunity. So now I've actually just jumped and I'm looking right at this opportunity. And we'll spend, actually we can spend a little bit of time on that right now. So seeing as I have an opportunity up, this is how Steve would be, managing his pipeline. He could create an opportunity. He's going to be going after some business for Robert's Construction. Probably have a little better description in here than this. How much does he think this opportunity is worth? There's a little comment box in here where you can kind of put maybe next steps or kind of where you're at. Again, this is a great way for you and your boss to stay connected, as to what's going on. Also an estimated close date. So one of the things that we also do just to make it easier to keep this managed is up here graphically we kind of show you the sales process. So you start out, you just qualified this, you're in the early stages, and then you move to needs and solutions where you're learning from the customer what their needs are, and maybe you generate a quote for them, and then you do a presentation, and then hopefully they accept, and then you move over to activate and transition. And at any point, if you had to start over or go back a stage, you can just go back a stage here. Basically, you're just answering a question and advancing the opportunity through the sales process. We try to make it where folks are out selling. They're not spending a lot of time in CRM, so we try to make it as simple as possible. So keep a few fields updated. Make sure you kind of are communicating where you're at in the process, and there you go. That's what you need to do. So it's a very, very straightforward, simple sales process to keep your pipeline easily managed. I'm just going to close out of that and close out of this. So so that's just again a couple more ways of where transparency seems to be a big buzzword. And you know, some folks are worried about that. CRM can be a big culture change, so you just have to, you know, I always say just call all these things out. I mean, people are worried about, well, you're going to be able to see what I'm doing, you know, and that's true. And there, you know, that can be a negative, but that can be a big positive. I mean, there's just a lot of big benefits to that, and that is we can all be more productive. You can be out selling more. So it's a win-win. Win-win. Okay, just kind of checking the time here. I think I'm just about on schedule. So I did promise that I would at least pull up a quote just to show you you can generate for an opportunity. If you want to generate a quote in CRM, you can do that. So I'm just going to jump in to the sales module here and just go into quotes and just find one quick just to show you. So I'll just pull one up and see what I have here. So here's the data that somebody would enter for a quote. A lot of this would have been pulled in right from the opportunity, but you're basically saying, you know, who the quote is for and a little bit of header information. You can type some stuff here. And then basically you're just getting a list of products and prices. And this particular, you know, quote only has one. Hopefully you'd have many more than that. And then if you want to just see how it looks, what I can do is I can just run a report. And we'll do things like we'll load your company logo in here. And if you want, you can have some supplier logos. So this would be like your company logo would be here. And then depending on what product line you're pushing, you can have a supplier logo print next to your logo. And then just some basic header information about the customer and about the salesperson. And then really it just becomes a list of products and descriptions and prices. And then you can have some more terminology down here, and a disclaimer can print down on the bottom if you'd like. This particular quote is in a draft status yet. That's why we're seeing this. Once I activate it, this will go away. I can easily print this. I can easily export this to a PDF and email it to the customer. I would say many of my customers don't do that. They actually make presentations, so they don't believe in emailing quotes. It's a lot more than just a list of products and prices. So it's all about the other services that you offer. So that's an example of a quote that you could generate with CRM. You don't have to, though. If you wanted to do a quote external to CRM, I'm just going to jump back to this opportunity. So maybe you're using Excel or you're using Word to generate that quote, but you want to save the quote against this opportunity. So you've been working with this company and now you created a quote. One of the things that you can do is just attach a quote to a note. So down here, that's exactly what I did. So you could actually just start typing a note, you know, see attached quote, blah, blah, blah. And then you could hit attach, and you can attach any document that you have electronically. And now that document is saved in CRM and linked back to this opportunity, which is linked back to that account. And again, it's all tied together now, all in one place. Okay, so that's a little bit on quotes and how you can use them. Okay, I'm switching gears to equipment tracking. Probably one of our most popular kind of additional features beyond the basic sales and customer management, because so many of our customers have hundreds, if not thousands, of tanks, and they don't know where they are. So we created a whole separate module called equipment tracking, and the concept here is okay, we want to keep track of where our equipment is. So what do we need? Well, we need to know who our customers are. We have that already. We're tying into your accounting system, so we have all your customers. So we're part way done. What else do we need? Well, we need to know all your equipment. So at some point, we have to load all our tanks or all our, you know, whether they're above ground tanks, propane tanks, generators, you know, whatever you want to keep track of. There's just a list of equipment. So now you have your customers and you have your equipment. The last piece is literally just to tie them together. So this is what the equipment screen kind of looks like. But then if I go back up here, there's what we call the account equipment screen. And this is the screen where you say, this particular account has this particular piece of equipment. And what I could do is I'll just grab one. Let's say, well, maybe I'll just point out a couple things on this screen. We keep track of like the day you basically gave it to them, And then if you went and got the piece of equipment back, you would record, like what we call an end date. So if there's an end date filled in, obviously this piece of equipment is not at A&P Auto anymore. So all of these without an end date, the assumption is that piece of equipment is still there. So I could just open this up and just kind of give you an idea of some of the information that we capture. So pretty much you're saying this account has this piece of equipment. Over here on the upper right, you can come up with a different set of transaction types. So you can, in this particular case, we're saying, we've loaned it to them, but this is all configurable by you. So rent, loan, sold, gave away, whatever. You come up with this list, and then again, that start date and end date. So again, this 200-gallon tank is still at Fairview Manufacturing. The other thing that's been really powerful is because we have your invoice data, and in the case with lubricant tanks, basically you can only put one thing in the tank. So this customer promised to buy this product, and he promised to buy this many gallons every year. So now I even have more power here. The system can tell you who's not meeting their commitment. So not only can you keep track of where the equipment is, who has it, how long they've had it, all those types of things, but if they promised, made some type of commitment based on the fact that you're going to just give them the tank, you can just kind of check to see, how close to reality, everybody was when you made the decision. So the way you see that, and my data probably isn't the greatest, but again, we just have a dashboard where I can go in and easily say, show me, I can list one salesman's accounts, or I can just list everybody, but basically, I can say something like, show me everybody who's not at 100% of their commitment. And I think I only have a couple show up on here. So here's that Fairview Manufacturing one. So they have that 200-gallon tank. Look, they're not even at 1%. They're at 0.4% of their commitment. So they've committed to 5,000 gallons a year, and so far in the last 12 months, they bought 20. So I think we need to have a talk with them. Something's not going right. Maybe they're buying that product from somebody else and putting it in our tank. So we got to work on that. So again, just imagine, all your accounts in here with your equipment, and if you've got those the commitment level set, boom, this dashboard just comes to life right for you with really no extra work once you've set it up, because the system has all the other data it needs to do that. So the other thing that's kind of cool about the equipment tracking, I'll just kind of jump in. There's a lot of different ways I could jump into this, but I'll pull back that record I was just on. One of the things that I could do from here is well, I wonder what else Fairview Manufacturing has. So I could have done this right from the account screen if I had wanted to, because it's all tied together. So remember before, when I was on the account screen, I was doing things like looking at, their purchasing history, I was looking at their AR information, all that cool information that was on the account screen. Well, one of the other things that's tied to the account is this account equipment file. So what this is going to do is, if I click on that, it's going to show me all the equipment that's somehow connected or was connected to Fairview Manufacturing. So in this particular case, here was that 275-gallon tank they had in 2011, but they don't have it anymore. And then they still have these two pieces of equipment. So very easy, right at my fingertips, to know what this customer has. So again, I'm about to visit Fairview Manufacturing, right? Maybe I can do some of this analysis, before I hit the road, as I'm analyzing this customer. So that's equipment tracking. Okay, moving on to station management. Probably not as popular, but we do have a number of clients who use this feature. The concept is, I have a lot of card lock locations, I have a lot of gas stations out there that either I own, I lease, I service, and I just don't have a good place to keep track of everything about that facility. So sometimes some of these screens can look a little overwhelming, the good news is every single thing on here is optional. So you can decide. I'll just grab one. You can decide what of this you want to use. So basically, you create a record for each facility, each station, whether it be a card lock location or a convenience store. It doesn't matter. You can upload a picture if you want, and then any information that you want to track or just keep track of in CRM, so it's all in one place, you can. I mean, there's just tons of information here about, the point of sale, some basic address information, all kinds of information about the building, if they have any service bays, all kinds of miscellaneous information about, pump toppers and, light bulbs that they use. So the concept here is, this could be in a lot of people's heads. As those people leave the organization, somebody new maybe has to do the service. They got to keep track of all this stuff and remember it and learn it. And if you just had it in here, if somebody new took over and had to go service this facility and, you got a call and there was a problem and, they could just, get a quick glimpse of what this station's all about if you had this information in here. Then as you move down, we have things like, do they have any other retail strategies there, say a car wash or a Subway? You can put in as many different retail strategies as you want. If you have any documents you want to keep track of for this location, you can do that. Any information about all the canopies, all the different signs that are there, the pumps that are there. Then we get into the tanks, and then any other equipment that we couldn't think of, from coffee makers, hot dog rollers, you name it, you can keep track of in here. Then the last thing that's kind of cool is we came up with this idea for station compliance, because obviously there's a lot of things you have to do to make sure your station is compliant. So in this particular case, I just have a leak detection, reminder in here, which is due on October 14th of this year. So I can get a list of all my compliance items that are due this month, go and do them, pull this up, mark it complete with the results, and then set another one for 3 months, 6 months, a year from now, whatever, and just kind of keep that be a reoccurring process. So very nice way to just kind of automate and keep track of things. We did it for compliance items, but I did see one client who actually took it to the next level, and they just used it for preventive maintenance. So they created a compliance item called preventive maintenance and gave it due dates and set it up for each of their locations, and then they just check when they're due, and then they go do the PM and they record the results, and they mark it complete, and then they create the system can automatically create another one for as many months out as you want, to just do it again. So that is station management. Again, you create one of these. I know there's a lot of information. You create one of these for each station. And I think when I went back here, there was what? I think I had I have 5. So you can have as many as you want. All right, so that's station management. Moving on to fuel price notification. So that's it's a pretty simple process we have for just pushing out fuel prices. And it's not real sophisticated. It's basically take a base price plus an adder or a markup, if you will, for each customer. So each customer can have their own markup. So I'll go back to our famous Fairview Manufacturing. So I'll do our global search and pull up Fairview Manufacturing. And I happen to know that they are set to get the fuel price emails each day. So what did I do in CRM? So I went in and said, yes, these guys want to get the email, and they want to get notified of the price of super and OLED and of unleaded, just as an example. And whatever base price I enter each day, I take that number plus, for super and OLED, I add 12 cents, and for unleaded, I take that base price and add 6 cents, and then I formulate an email and send it off to Fairview Manufacturing. So who gets it at Fairview Manufacturing? Well, that would be a contact. So you can have, I'll just pull up, I think Jim is one of them. Here's a contact at Fairview Manufacturing, and sure enough, Jim is coded to get the fuel price email. So there could be multiple people at Fairview Manufacturing who want to get that email. So you can generate a fuel price email for a customer and send it to as many contacts at that customer as you'd like. So once you get each customer set up with their markups, then the only thing you have to do every day is go in and enter the base prices for your products. You hit basically the go button, and the system just goes out and starts doing math, building emails, and sending emails. I know I have a few clients who have a lot of different base prices because they pull product from different suppliers, different racks. We can be real creative, and there's nothing to stop you from having 3 no-leads, 3 diesels, 3 dyed diesels, whatever. So we have customers who have been very creative to make this work. Probably the only limitation that I hear, I've heard a couple times, is we're not an accounting system, and so we don't know all the different taxes that are out there. That's more in your accounting system. So if you need that on these emails, then this isn't going to be an answer for you. But it has worked for a lot of our customers with just taking a base price plus a markup and sending it out. You can even send this email out to prospects if you want. It doesn't necessarily have to be an active customer. If I had a prospect account, they weren't buying anything from me yet. They weren't even in my accounting system. There isn't anything from stopping me from having a prospect account in CRM and going in here and just saying yes and setting up these prices. One of the things that you also have the option of is you can have an expiration date. So for prospects, sometimes folks just want to get your price just to use to their advantage, not to actually buy from you. So you can say, sure, I'll send you my price for 30 days, and then you just set it to expire in 30 days, and then we'll stop sending the email to them. Sometimes that triggers a call from them going, hey, I stopped getting the email, and then you can say, well, okay, doesn't look like you bought anything. Is there anything we can do to help? And away you go. All right, so that's fuel price notification. Chad, I'm in speed mode here again. Sorry I haven't asked you for a bit. Any questions?
Keep speeding away, Steve.
All right. Couple things to wrap up real quick. Territory management. I promised I would show you that. That's just a way to plot graphically on a map where your accounts are. So the concept here is, let's say I'm going to go visit Fairview Manufacturing. So if I'm going to go visit Fairview Manufacturing, I'm just going to look them up quick. What other of my customers are near Fairview Manufacturing that maybe I could see on the way? So I said, show me all my accounts within 20 miles of Fairview Manufacturing. And I know Fairview is right here in Chicago. So geez, if I'm going to be that far into the city, maybe I could stop and talk to this customer. Or if I'm starting out here and driving in, maybe I could swing by and talk to these 3 customers either on the way in or on the way out of the city. So one of the things I can do as I hover over this, I could jump and open up the account right from here and analyze their buying history, the equipment, all the things we talked about. It's all right there at my fingertips. It could just kind of help me plan my day. I don't necessarily have to be visiting an account. One of the other options on here is I could just put in an address. So maybe I'm going to be just I could put in a specific address or just a city. I'm going to be up in Green Bay, Wisconsin. Who do I have in Green Bay, Wisconsin? Well, if I'm going to be up there, here's some customers of mine. I see I've got some different pin colors. I just kind of let you know over here on the right, it says, the green pins are my active customers, red are my prospects, black is something other than a customer and a prospect, and blue are if I have any leads hanging around. So just a great way to, again, for me to be a little bit more productive, get a sense geographically kind of where folks are, and again, maybe save myself a little bit of time. All right. Last thing I want to point out before I jump into the iPad, because I got about 5 minutes for that, is we do have videos. So this is good for, you hire somebody new, or somebody maybe is in the organization, but they just become a CRM user. You can give them a foundation of CRM, but you can also kind of just have them watch some of these videos. There's a video about some of the reports. There's a video about just how to navigate in CRM. There's a video about the sales process. So there's all kinds of little 10, 15-minute videos to kind of just guide you through the software. And then also, every time we do a release, we like to not only do we send out an email explaining the release, but it's nice to actually see the release in action. So we crank out a short video describing all the new features. So if maybe you missed the email, or you're a little bit just wondering what's been going, what's changed in the system over the last few months, well, you can analyze the last few releases just by watching some short videos. Again, just another great way, to stay up to date with all the new things that we've added, because we're constantly making the software better. So, all right, so that's that. All right, lastly, my iPad. I've got a quick turn this on, I'm sure. Oh, let's cancel that. See if I've got it running. I'm going to try to get my iPad to display on the screen here. So let's see if we can get that thing to show up. All right. I think it's working. Chad, just to confirm, are you seeing the iPad?
Yep, I got your iPad.
All right, great. So I've got just about 3 or 4 more minutes. So it's a little bit hard because I can't really use the mouse so much. I'll be tapping on my iPad, but this has been a game changer for a lot of our folks who are taking advantage of this. So again, the concept is I'm working offline, so I'm out in the field with this iPad in front of me that's going to work, and just like I'm showing you right now, this happens to be the home page. We've got a global search on here to help you find stuff within the data. There's little gears here that let you control what charts you might want to see on your home page, so you control what this home page looks like. And then really down on the bottom is how you can navigate to other areas. So I could, as an example, I could just go into my accounts. So I just tapped on accounts. Here's my list of accounts. It shows me kind of how many I have and different accounts here. I could search for an account here, so I might as well. I'll just search for that Fairview again. You're kind of used to that account, so I might as well stick with it. So I just searched for Fair, and I found all these. I'll just open up this guy. And again, remember, I'm out in the field on my iPad, not connected to the internet. I can look over here on the left, basic account information. As I scroll up, all that information that was on that account screen. Some AR information. Over on the right, you'll see a dashboard again that I can control what charts I want. It's kind of showing me how much business this customer's been doing. And then on the bottom, I can look at all these records that are related to this account. So if I wanted to, I could say, well, show me all the opportunities that I've got going on with Fairview Manufacturing. So I just have one. I could look at their order history. I could look at the data for a quote that I might have put together for them. And the thing that's really cool is not only is the information available, but it's not just a static look at it. I can update this stuff. So I can update account information. I can add activities. So I just did a sales call, or I just did a, whatever. I could go in and post an activity to this account, and I do it, and it's on my iPad. And the next time I sync, it's pumped up into CRM. I could add a note. I could add a new opportunity. I could add a contact. I could add some competitor share wallet information. I could just open up this opportunity right here just by tapping on it. And you'll see, we did the best we could to make the opportunity look the same on the iPad as it did in CRM, where you have graphically kind of all the different phases you go through, the stages of the sales process. And I could update this. I could move this along. I could update the description of this opportunity. Maybe I have to update the estimated close date, some of these numbers on here. I could add an activity here. I could update an activity, add a note. So I can do, just about everything I want to do as a salesperson out in the field, just rock solid productive. And this comes right with your CRM. There's not like an extra fee for this or anything. You just obviously just have to buy an iPad, but it doesn't even need, any connectivity out in the field. But then once a day, you are going to either want to be home or in the office or at a McDonald's or someplace with a connection. And then you'll want to do the sync. And then again, it'll copy all your hard work from the iPad, up to CRM. So that's it. Really, really, I would say the iPad is probably one of our most popular additions in the last, last couple of years. We're constantly adding stuff, but this was like a biggie. So that was my list. I'm about 1 minute late, so I am going to pull up this PowerPoint and send it back over to Chad.
Great. Thanks a lot, Steve. Really appreciate it. A lot of great stuff. So I do want to thank everybody for joining us today and remind you that, we'll be sending you a copy of this on demand via an email. What Steve showed you is great, but how it can really relate to your business, the very best way to do that is to contact Kevin Brown. He's our oil and gas sales executive. So his contact information